Hello crafters and welcome back to my channel. It's me Deepa from Designs by D here to share this fun card featuring some Pear Blossom Press EZ-Lights. I'm going to be using this fun stamp and stencil set from Pink Fresh Studio along with the Pear Blossom Press EZ-Lights. Now you'll notice these lights, I have a 3-pack here. You can buy them in different variations on the site. I will put links down below for these items. Now, there are two types of lights. There's the twinkle lights and the EZ-Lights. The twinkle lights kind of twinkle. They have more of like a white light, and the EZ-Lights are more of a yellow light. And the EZ-Light is just kind of one light that kind of, three lights, sorry, that come on and stay on. So those are the ones we're going to be using today along with this retro camp day set from Pink Fresh Studio. I've got not only the stamp, the coordinating stencils, and the dies which cut out all of those amazing sentiments there. So I'm going to go ahead and just set up my stamp positioner here. I've got an A2 sized white card panel, and I'm just going to set up this beautiful camp scene on the panel closer to the bottom because I want to create a nice like starry sky in the background and also leave some space for my sentiment up there. So I'm just using some VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink and I am stamping this down. I like the Nocturne ink. I find that I only really have to stamp it once and I get a nice crisp image. I would recommend heating that with a heat tool just slightly if you're gonna ink this up right after, because there can be just a little bit of smudging sometimes, not always, but I would like to just make sure that I don't have any of that happening. So just hit it with a heat tool just for like maybe 10 seconds or so to make sure that's fully dry. Now I've got some inks from Altenew. I'm using like deep blues. I've got dusk and I've got what is the color there? I think desert night, and I am just mixing those two colors into the sky. So you can see these stencils are actually really large, and to be honest with you, I prefer these over the ones that are kind of cut down into A2 sized pieces. I don't know why. There is a little bit of like finicking around if you have your ink pads around your card, so the stencil might kind of hit those, but I mean that is not a huge deal. I've added kind of the deepest color coming up from the trees and then around all three edges, top, left, and right of this panel. You will notice that I didn't actually line up the panel with the card panel. So there are like little slivers of white that show on the edge, but that's not a big deal. I just go over it with the ink after I remove the stencil. So I'm going ahead and lining up the second part of the stencil here, and I'm grabbing my greens. I've got some Forest Glade, and I'm going to add some evergreen to it to create a variation in color. I always like to do this. As you notice, I did that with the sky. I'm going to do the same with the grass. So I'm just adding the Forest Glades all over, and then you can see me, I'm lifting up and trying to correct that little sliver of white that I kind of missed on the back there. Like I said, very easy to do. You know, you can line everything up, but if you don't, there is a solution and it's not a big deal. So now I'm going to come in with the evergreen, and I added like little bits of that all around the grass to create like darker areas and lighter areas. Now I'm using the next stencil, which does the camper van and some of the chairs. I've used some lavender feels, which is a nice like light purple, and I'm not being as heavy handed this time. So when it comes to the actual the camper van and the chairs and everything, I'm doing it a little lighter. I did do the green and the blue a lot darker and deeper because they are the background and it is nighttime, so I do want them to be deeper toned and have that deepness to the color. The camper van, it's in the foreground, so it should be lighter. So that's why I'm just not coming at these inks with a heavy hand. Now I'm using some Volcano Lake, which is like a nice like aquamarine-ish type color. It has a little bit of a green tinge to it, so it works really well. I've grabbed fresh lemon and I'm using that on the inside of the camper van, and this is where we're going to be putting our lights. So I think yellow is important. I'll show you why afterwards when we get to the EZ-Lights. I did add some brown for the tree trunks and then other little accent pieces on the camper van. And now I'm coming back in with a bit more of the volcano lake for like the mat where the table is, and then these little throws that are hanging out of the camper van and on the chair. I'm using the next part of the stencil with some more greens. Again, I'm using the deepest part, that evergreen on like the right and the bottom edge of the trees and these little shrubs, and then lightening it up on the left top side there. And then there's two more trees in the background here. I'm going to grab another color ink that's like another green, which is eucalyptus. I just wanted a different tone of green here so that we can create some variation in the greens we've got. So it's a little lighter, which is completely fine because trees are not all the same color green. Now that I've got that background done, I want to add those stars. So I've grabbed some of this I forget exactly what it's called. I'll link it in my supplies list down below, but I'm going to create just a bit of splatter here in the background. And best to kind of use two things and kind of tap your paintbrush on something else so that you can get all of those tiny little bits that create those small little stars. Now I realize it's over top of the trees as well, but I'm not going to think too much about it. That's completely fine. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp out my sentiment. So I've got two sentiments here. The first one is that some people just feel like home, which I thought was goes well with the camper van. And then I've got my sub sentiment, life feels lighter with you around. And I did that intentionally. The sentiment says the word lighter, and we're going to have the lights in the camper van. So I thought that was just like a nice kind of play on words there. So I've gone ahead and I stamped these out again, VersaFine Clear Nocturne ink. I have cut the main sentiment out with the die, and the second sub sentiment I cut out into a banner. I've got my panel here. Now I'm going to cut this down to 4 inches by 5 1/4 so that I have a little bit of a border just around the edge. I am actually cutting off just like a 1/4 inch all around so that I can keep my focal point in the center here. Now I'm going to grab my EZ-Lights, and this, I think that these are just the simplest and easiest things to use. So I'm going to go ahead and disconnect one of these from the 3-pack. I'll just tie up the wires again so that they don't get messy. And then I'm going to grab one of the batteries. So it comes with the 3-pack of batteries. So you get one battery for each light trio. And I'm just going to go ahead and slip this in, and that's how easy it is to get the lights to light up. And you can see that there are 3 little lights there, 3 tiny little LEDs, and just check that everything's lighting up. I've never had any issues with the lights never not lighting up or having any problems with it. So I've gone ahead and I've done that, and you can see if you look at the top of those lights, they're actually yellow, and that is why I colored in or added ink to the inside of the camper van in yellow, so it kind of disguises the look of that little LED. So I have poked 3 holes into the inside of the camper van. You could do 1, you could do 2, and I mean it's completely up to you where you want to put the lights, right? I just thought I wanted all 3 kind of concentrated inside that camper van to show like the light brightly shining from inside on a dark, starry camp night. So I've gone ahead and I've kind of figured out where I want my push button to be, and I've grabbed the Pear Blossom Press stamp set there to stamp out the push sentiment at the top there, or like the instructions, so that people know that there's like something interactive there. I've gone ahead and I've just kind of opened up those little holes that I created at the back, and now I am going to grab those little LED lights from each of the 3 wires, and I'm going to just kind of put them into the hole, and they fit right in the hole. You want to get that yellow part right in the hole and then tape it down at the back. And as you do make sure that when you turn them around on the front, they kind of light up perfectly. If you do turn them around to the front and the light's not showing through, then you kind of have to move the LED portion just a little bit to make sure it's right on that hole. And then you'll see it lights up so perfectly, and you see the yellows kind of sticking out there. So that is why I did it yellow. That's why I did the inking inside of it yellow. The light is yellow. It all just makes sense. So now I kind of wrapped this around and put the little press button right where we put that push stamp. And I'm just taping this down with like everyday Scotch tape. That's really all you need to do. Perfect. You can also go ahead and tape down the wiring a little bit more if you want to flatten that up a bit. That's completely up to you. And that just, you can see it looks like a mess on the back, but all the wiring is done for you. And it's just super easy to just pop in those lights, stamp out your push button, and then tape that to the back. And that's pretty much as easy as the EZ-Lights are to use. Next step that you have to keep in mind is because you have that battery pack and the press button, it creates a bit of depth. So you are going to have to attach this with some foam. So keep in mind this card is going to have some dimension to it. If you don't want to mess around with postage and stuff, make sure that this is a card you're giving to someone in hand or is not going to go through the mail. I haven't tried to send one through the mail yet, but the moment I do, I will let you know how that goes. So I've added 2 layers of foam tape, not 1, but 2, in 3 strips at the back in order to make sure that it's raised up off of the back enough so that that battery pack is not too obvious there. I'm going ahead and I'm adding some foam adhesive to the back of the sentiment. I've got some foam strips and I've got some small micro foam squares which work perfectly for intricate detailed sentiments like this one. I'm going to go ahead and remove the release papers and place that near the top. Now, one thing I forgot to mention earlier is that I used the deep blues in the sky, but then I also used a little bit of that purple that we have in the camper van in the sky as well. You can kind of see it there above the trees. It creates a little, again, variation in color, creates more depth and dimension, and it also kind of pulls together the camper van with the rest of the scene. I always love to take a color from my foreground and place it in my background or any other part of my card to just create more flow. Now all I'm doing is I'm adding my sub sentiment, which pulls in the whole light thing that we've got going on there. And I'm going to go ahead and cut off the excess piece of that banner. And now I can remove the release paper from the foam adhesive and place this on my card base. So again, my card base is side folding A2 sized. I added a navy blue panel behind it because remember we cut down the edges to create a border. And now I'm just adding some white gems to this in order just to create just a little more interest on this card. Now that kind of completes this card for today. That's really as easy as it gets with this. You can see how the lights shine up so pretty. This is here in the light that I have in my craft studio. And I'm going to show you what it looks like in the dark. And you can see, oh my God, it lights up so amazingly and looks so very cute. You got a nice camper van in the nighttime with a light that lights up. Like, how fun is that? So I really hope that you've enjoyed this video today. You can see just how easy the Pear Blossom Press EZ-Lights are to use, and you'd like to maybe grab some of them yourself. They are perfect additions to any card, and your recipient will love it. So I've linked everything down below. I hope that you've enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe for future inspiration, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.